if you have any curiosity about what the heck is happening energetically in the world right now, what is this shift we're going through? When is it going to move? Like, what are the stages? What can we expect next year? Maybe the year after that? This is going to be the episode for you. Now, if you are unfamiliar, I have a spiritual community online called the Sage Circle. It's been around for a couple of years now, and it's absolutely wonderful. And twice a month, I go into the circle and I do sacred space meditations with the members. And we do them live together. And in those sessions, I always take a first portion of that session to talk about energetically what's going on right now. So these sessions are every 2 weeks, right? And I believe that when you know what's happening energetically around you, you're more prepared to navigate it. You're also more in alignment with how you want to walk through it. And that in itself makes the highs higher and the lows less low. But I typically talk about this stuff in the Sage Circle. And today I'm gonna bring it out into the wild. I'm gonna talk about it out here in the public sector, because I think it's really important to have an understanding of what we're going through right now and have some direction on what's coming up, because spoiler alert, it's actually good news. Okay. Well, let's not hesitate. Let's do this. All right, what the heck is going on? What in blazes is happening energetically? I know there's a lot of talk out there about what's going on energetically this year and next year, and there's a reason for it. We are going through an absolute shift. Absolute. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, tell you that the other side of this, once we get to it, is the grass is indeed greener. Energetically, spiritually, community-based, individually, collectively. It is a very, very good thing, but it's bumpy to get there. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk also about the pendulum swing that I've seen. Now, just for a little, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm going to give you a little, catch up on who I am, my guide, who I work with, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure to hit the subscribe or the follow or whatever the button is. It helps the channel and means a lot to me. I appreciate it. For those of you that have been with me for a while, welcome back, my friend. Welcome back. We're going to go into a thick topic today, like a thick, juicy topic, which is what the heck are we walking through right now? Okay, back into it. Here's the backdrop of myself, I guess you could say. I've been open 20 years spiritually. I opened up when I was 32, and I've been teaching students for about 17, 18 of those years. I've been working with my main guide, Peter. He is the guide that I speak to every 2 weeks. Now, the sacred space sessions that I mentioned before are meditation sessions that I do inside my spiritual online community called the Sage Circle. I do them every new moon and every full moon. I've been doing them for about 15 years or so, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know. I didn't keep track. So I've been doing them for long enough that I just forgot how long I've been doing them. But I've been doing them for such a length of time that at this point I look back and I can really attribute a lot of my own personal and emotional growth to checking in every new moon and every full moon. So if you have new moon and full moon rituals that you do, please keep doing them, because doing them on the long run helps tremendously. But each moon cycle has different energies. So now I'm talking on a smaller scale, just the moon cycles. Each moon cycle has different energies. I talk to my guide Peter and say, hey, what's going on? I bring that into the Sage Circle and share that with the members in our live sessions. So with that said, those are the moon cycles. What we're talking about in this episode is the overall shift that we're going through 2025, 2026, landing beautifully in 2027. And this is also something that I gather from my guide. I have conversations with him quite frequently about what's going on. Let's go back to when this started for me. Not the intuitive stuff, but when I started getting the little sniff and smell of change in the air. Back in 2019, my guide Peter said, something's coming. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting. He said, we're going to go through a spiritual shift. Now, this is humorous to me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I've been in the spiritual world, spiritual industry for like 20 years, right? So 2019, 6 years ago. So for the first 14 years, I can't count on two hands how many end of the worlds were coming, how many spiritual shifts were coming, and there would be a big ta-da about it, and I'd sit with it and go, ooh, so we're going to have the spiritual awakening happening this coming April, right? And people would start talking about it, and I would sit with it, and I never felt anything. And I was like, okay, I must not be tuned into whatever level that one is. So, like 14 years into my spiritual path, when my guide says to me, hey, we're going to be going through a big spiritual shift, I was like, let me get my popcorn, because I've been watching talk about spiritual shifts for 14 years and never felt pulled into any of it. So, I almost thought, well, maybe there never is one. So 2019, I'm talking to him, and he says, big spiritual shift coming. I said, okay. Now I teach the Sage Method course. It's a 7-week intuitive development course. I tell you that because I started teaching that about 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago in person. And I taught it in person for a number of years. And in 2019, this was the spark of this conversation with him, is he said, I need you to take the course and I need you to put it online. And I need people to be able to access it online. And I was like, no, because at the time I was super camera shy. I've gotten over it. We're good. But I was super camera shy. And even if you watch the course today, you're going to be like, well, she's a little shyer in the course than she is in person. But maybe you won't pick that up. Maybe that's just my humanness coming out right there. But I said, why? Like, why? I can just keep, teaching it in person. I can get classes, going more classes. Nope, put it online. I said, all right. So then the pandemic hit, like a couple months after he said this to me, because it was the very beginning of 2019. And then the pandemic hit. And a lot of people signed up for the course and then used the tools in the course to just improve their path. And I was like, this is awesome. And he said, all of these people are preparing for the upcoming shift. Well, now you got my attention. What's the shift? He said, all right, right around 2025 is going to be the year. And I was like, you're talking about 6 years from now? That's great. Thanks. I got to wait. So I keep going. We hit 2024, mid 2024, and I start talking to him about this again. What can we expect next year? His biggest message, and I actually want to send this one out to you now too, because if you're listening to this, this is a tool you can start using right now that's going to help you. He said the biggest shift that's going to happen in 2025 is people are going to go from receiving their energy from the outside in, and they're going to start walking through life with their energy from the inside out. What I mean by that is we are energetic creatures, and there's a lot. Stick with me on this one. We're going to talk about the pendulum swing here coming up soon, but I want to give you these personal details because this is about you. This is we're talking about your experience walking through this. So we're energetic beings. Our physical body is within our energetic body. We also can call our energetic body the spiritual body. And what happens is we pick up energies from the outside, and those energies kind of determine how we feel or how we move through this world. 2025 is the shift where the outside energies no longer determine how we move through this world. Instead, what is within us determines how we move through this world. So we're going to go from the inside out now instead of the outside in. Another way of saying that is we're going to decide what we want to do, and we're going to go do that instead of doing what we're told. We are going to feel if we should be joyous or happy or scared in a moment, instead of having something from the outside tell us if we should be joyous, happy, or scared in a moment. So that's the difference. We're moving from our outside world determining how we experience life and into a space where our inner self determines how we experience life. I will tell you that this is a gradual shift. For most, it's a gradual shift. It's a practice. It is not a perfect shift. It's not going to be that, there's never a situation outside yourself that doesn't spark an emotion or spark a decision. You're going to gradually make decisions Create your emotions, be in the state that you want to be from the inside out. And that's going to happen more and more often for you. Here's a way that you're going to know that it's happening. If you hear something or see something and the people around you react in a certain way and you don't, that's a sign that you're functioning from the inside out, not the outside in. The outside has not influenced you as to how you should feel. If you take this piece of information that I just shared with you, and if you apply it to what's going on in the world and the effects of media, news, social media, propaganda, even, opinions, all of that, because holy hell, there's a lot of it out there right now. But if you look at just that, look at how people are being pressed with it, and look at how some of us are able to move past it and see it for what it is. That's an outside energy trying to decide how I feel. I am now being pulled to wanting my inside energies, my personal authentic energy, to determine how I am feeling and determine where I'm going. This is 2025. This is how he explained it to me. And for those of us that are on a spiritual path, we've been doing a lot of inner work. We're finding this difficult at times, but achievable. For those that haven't stepped on a path at all, it might be a little bit bumpier to get there. Here's another way of saying it. We are going from the I to the we as far as community goes. And while that sounds backwards from what I just said, let me explain it. By 2026, 2027, we're going to be way more community-based than we were. Now, I know certain areas in the world much better at community than other areas in the world. I'm not saying any names, but I know that that's the case. But overall, the movement is going to be toward community and connectiveness. The movement's going to be toward the we instead of the I. Let me connect that with what I just said, because that sounds opposite. It's not. So the first piece, which is 2025, learning how to energetically move through the world from your own authentic energy instead of influence from the outside. That sounds like, going from the we to the I. No, influence from the outside was the I. That's one person telling you their opinion and how it should be. And that individual isn't thinking about the collective community. They're not thinking in terms of we. Because if they were thinking in terms of we, they would only want to connect with you where you're at. They would want to show up for you where you're at. They would want to honor your authentic inner energy and say, oh, okay, this is the world they're creating, and not try to derail that or change it. When individuals are in it for the individuals, then they're trying to individually affect other people, which is the outside affecting you. When all the individuals are in the community-minded orientation of we instead of I, they're going to want to influence you still, but for the collective, for you being a part of something, meaning that they're considering you in the process of what they're talking about or showing, et cetera, et cetera. So while the collective group is going to be going from the I to the we, right? We're going to be going from the individualism to community. You yourself are going to be going from making decisions based on what you were culturally taught, what you were programmed to believe. And you're going to be moving into making decisions on what feels best for you, or what you're passionate about, or what lights you up, or what gets you excited. Here's something else you're going to see energetically that kind of tells you this is happening for you. You're going to see yourself reacting to stuff that you used to put up with for a very long time, and you're just not going to put up with it anymore. You're like, what is my favorite phrase? I'm done. I am done. I am done with this. I don't want this one more time. I don't want to hear it one more time. I don't want to see it one more time. I don't want to deal with it one more time. That is going to come in. And while people are like, oh, that's a low vibration. Okay. Okay, sure. I get it. I can see how you can identify as this feeling of like, putting my foot down and having a moment of anger and saying, I don't want to put up with this anymore. I can see you saying that as a low vibration. I don't see it as a low vibration. I see it as an empowerment vibration. I see it as I just raised my vibe and I'm saying no to it being pulled back down. Okay, that is the individual experiences that most people are happening on different scales. We're all different, right? But somewhere in there, you probably can relate to where you're like, okay, yeah, I've been feeling like I want to do what I want to do now, right? I don't want to do what I was told to do. Or maybe you can relate to feeling like I want to be around people that consider me instead of just trying to get me to do something different or change or hate something, or I just don't want to do that anymore. That's the shift we're going through this year. Now, I want to talk about the pendulum swing. I want to, just overall talk about Earth and this whole experience here. There's pendulum swings all over the place. That's just energetically, it's a metaphor for being in an existence, being in an agreed upon reality where there is opposites constantly swinging back and forth from one opposite to the other side, to this side, to that side, to the happiness to sad, sad back to happiness. This is purposely structured this way so we can feel the deepest forms of happiness, because we can't feel the deepest forms of happiness unless we feel the deepest forms of sadness. I'm sitting here with you today. I'm in my 50s, and I have been able to set up healthy boundaries with things in my past. And the freedom and the joy that I feel today, I believe strongly I would never have felt if I didn't go through the crap I went through previously. Thank you to those that delivered the crap to my doorstep, dragged me into the household of crap. But I'm out. And every time we overcome something, it can even be going through university or college, and it's difficult, and you come out of that and now you have this job, and you look back at the struggle you went through school maybe, and how hard maybe the schoolwork was or the process was, and you're like super grateful because now you get to do this. That gratitude, that joy, that freedom, all those things that we feel are pendulum swings. It swings all the way one way, and then when it swings all the way back, it's far enough away and it feels so much different that there's a whole influx of joy. All right, with that said, so now we just talked about the whole opposites of Earth, and we got to have the good and the bad and the yada, all that kind of stuff. We talked about that. Let's talk about the big pendulum swing that happened a couple of months ago, right around the middle of 2025. The pendulum was swinging toward the I and away from the we. Pendulum was swinging toward hate and away from love. Pendulum swinging was swinging this giant, just imagine this giant pendulum swinging in the direction of frustration, of struggle, of individualism, of those types of things. Mid-year, just a couple months ago, as the time of this recording, the pendulum stopped swinging in that direction and started to come back, and is now swinging toward the collective, the we, the community, the love and the joy, those types of things. Are we going toward euphoria? Is Earth going to turn into some magical new frequency level thing? Not necessarily, but it's going to get a whole lot better. It's going to get a whole lot better. When we see this pendulum swing, I want to address what it's like for us humans running around in these, gorgeous little meat suits that, let us have these experiences. All of us are having a different experience with this pendulum swing. And for some of us, it's very difficult. For some of us, it's difficult for different reasons, right? There are some people on the I side of the pendulum, and they were excited. They're like, yay, we're swinging in this direction. And the people on the other side, on the we side, on the like community and love side, we were clinging to this pendulum as if we're like, because you imagine pendulum, once it gets swinging really far to one side, the people on the other side are kind of like hanging onto it. Like, this could start swinging back any day now. That'd be great. And it did. But when it starts swinging back, right, the people on the community side, the we side, the collective, like moving toward compassion and care side, they got to take a bit of a breath. And this just recently happened. And now we're moving back toward the other side of this pendulum. But we're not, it's going to take a little bit for the pendulum to swing all the way back to where we're going to end up being, 2027. And I'll talk about that. Well, 2026 too. The other reaction to this pendulum swing is that those that were on the I side and they were thriving around the individualism and the control and the I and all that kind of stuff, they're not going to be happy, right? We got to process. If the pendulum's swinging in a direction that doesn't speak to your soul, you could be unhappy. So we're going to see a little bit of, what is that called? An extinction burst of people that thrived with the pendulum swinging that direction. It's now swinging the other way energetically, globally. And as a result of that, we're going to have a little bit of an extinction burst from people that really wanted it to stay in that direction. Okay. You might have heard a little bit of tiptoeing around there, because what I'm trying to do, it's not tiptoeing. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully, because I'm trying to talk about this on a spiritual and energetic level. The second you pick sides or say it's this side or that side, you're wrong. I don't mean that harshly. I just mean when we're having a conversation like this energetically about the collective, it's not anyone who's right or wrong. And I'll clarify. If you're talking about a human situation, there's right and wrong. We're talking about an energetic situation of this entire earth, of every soul that's on it, of an energetic pendulum swing. This is not about right or wrong. This is about helping all of us get to where we're supposed to get to. Now, I'm going to interject this because I had that moment where I started hearing myself and I'm like, wow, I sound like, Pollyanna, happy, butterfly roses and chocolate cake pops. But I want to clarify that this earth goes on a cycle. It's approximately a 20-year cycle, totaling 4 cycles. And not all of those cycles are good. If we were going into one of the 20-year cycles that was not good, like if you and I were talking back in 2007, this would be a completely different conversation. This would be buckle up. We got 20 years ahead of us, where it's going to be progressively more painful, struggle, whatever, challenging, insert whatever word makes you feel comfortable there. So this is not a Pollyanna happy, like, oh, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. This is literally talking about we're going into the next 20-year phase. And that next 20-year phase is the we. We're leaving the I and we're going into the we. We're moving into community. So I also don't absolutely don't want to discount anything going on in your immediate circumstances, right? Things are shifting, things are changing. But I do want you to understand where we're headed, because the more often you recognize, and this is really important energetically, because this is going to answer the question of, okay, this is all great, Bo, but what the heck do I do? When you recognize every moment of that pendulum heading in the direction of the collective we and the community and the people matter and equality and love, when you see that in the world, put your attention on it. Put your attention on it. Nothing swings this pendulum energetically faster toward it than you paying attention to it. What we don't want to be doing, we want to be informed of what's going on in our house, in our relationships, in our community, in our environment, in our country, in our globe, whatever, where however far you want to go. We want to be aware, but we don't want to continue to focus on that 24/7 every single day. So we want to be aware of what's going on in our life. We want to pay attention and we want to educate ourselves. But when you see something in your life, with a friend, in a relationship, with your town, your community, your territory, your state, that's going toward that pendulum community swing, and you're like, wow, look at what just happened. Look at what that country did or that town did. It's very positive. Oh, look at what this one individual did for another individual. That's really positive. When you see that, grab it. Grab it like it is a Cinnabon at an airport. Like, hold on to that, focus on it, talk about it, share it with somebody else. That's what keeps the pendulum moving in that direction. And it's not that the pendulum's going to go back that other way, but if you were physically on this metaphorical pendulum, and I said, if you focus on this pendulum's going to swing faster toward what we want, you'd be like, I'm on it. Got it. Achieved. If you want to really ramp this up and get us into this next 20-year phase of community faster, look for something every day. Look for something every day that impresses you, that you look at and you go, that is humanity, that is love, that is community. That is an example of it. That is where we're headed. Now, it's going to take about 2026, 2027 for us to really kind of get to where we look back and go, wow, that was interesting. So it is going to take a while, but this is what's happening energetically. All right. When we get, here's a message, I'll leave you with this message from my guide. When we get to 2027, we're going to look back at all the earlier years and we're going to say, this is really interesting. I'm experiencing community in a way that I would have never expected to experience it before. And it's going to be neat. Is it all going to be perfect? No, it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. You are still going to stub your toe and you're still going to curse when it happens. There's still going to be ups and downs, but we're moving into this next 20-year phase, which is expansion, connection, exploration, those types of things. So pendulum swinging. Your only task, if you so choose to accept, is to, when you see a beautiful piece of humanity happening in front of you, when you see love in an empowered state happening between two individuals, multiple individuals, groups of people, look at it, pay attention to it, speak it out loud, share it with another person. That's going to get us into that direction. You know, I don't know if it'll get us in the direction faster. That's my dreamer side. Hey, but now we know where we're going. All right, that's it for this week. Deep Thoughts by Bo and Peter. I can't leave him out because he's the source of this information. But all right, I will connect with you again. Tell somebody you love them today. I love you. I think you're amazing. And I will see you next week.
This podcast is brought to you by the SAGE Method, the most comprehensive and down-to-earth intuitive development training available. Is this your year? Is it finally your time to increase your intuition, bring in more abundance, and experience the bliss you deserve? If yes, then join thousands of students across the world for a 7-week journey to uncover your natural, beautiful, and strong intuition. Visit us at thesagemethod.com for more information.